On the rainy morning of April 2nd, 2025, Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, was supposed to host a high school athletic event filled with young athletes dreaming of victory. But at 10:30 a.m., a scream echoed across the field. Austin Metcalf, a 17-year-old student, football player, and promising sprinter, fell to the ground with a knife lodged in his chest. What began as an argument over a canopy turned into one of Texas's most controversial criminal cases, reigniting debates over race, justice, and school safety. Here is the case of Austin Metcalf with all the details you need to know. Austin Metcalf was born in 2007 in Frisco, a city with an estimated population of 116,000, located in the northern part of Texas. Frisco is known for its rapid growth, family-friendly community, high-quality schools, and strong sports culture. Austin was the son of Jeff and Megan Metcalf, who, in addition to him, have two other children: Hunter, Austin's identical twin brother, and a younger sister, whose identity has been kept private. According to sources, he grew up in a close-knit family that regularly attended church and was guided by Christian faith. Jeff, Austin's father, had won a tough battle against cancer about 9 years ago. Jeff stated that much of his life was dedicated to raising his children the best way possible so they could become exemplary citizens. Austin was described as a boy with an infectious smile, very polite, and a natural leader. His girlfriend said in an interview that he always treated her with great respect and that the two of them planned to marry someday. As identical twins, Austin and Hunter shared a special bond, engaging in activities like sports and family moments. Austin was an exceptional athlete. At Frisco Memorial High School, where he attended, he stood out as a linebacker on the football team, being named the most valuable player in 2024. In addition, he achieved a GPA of 4.0, the highest possible grade point average, equivalent to straight A's in all subjects, earning him a spot in the National Honor Society, an honor reserved for top students. Austin was among the top 50 football players in the state of Texas still in school. He had received several offers from Division I universities, higher education institutions in the United States that compete at the highest level of college sports. He had received several offers from Division I universities, higher education institutions in the United States that compete at the highest level of college sports. Austin also competed in track and field, excelling in the 100 and 200-meter sprints. His friends said that Austin was proof that talent and dedication could go hand in hand. But tragically, the promising 17-year-old's life would be cut short in a brutal and senseless way. On the morning of April 2nd, 2025, Kuykendall Stadium, on the campus of Staley Middle School, hosted a track meet with teams from several Frisco schools, including Memorial and Centennial High Schools. The rain began to fall, forcing the athletes to take shelter under canopies. Around 10 a.m., Austin Metcalf, wearing his Memorial uniform, was with his teammates under the canopy reserved for their team, where they kept their personal items. According to the police report, which was 7 pages long, Karmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old student from Centennial High School, was sitting alone under the Frisco Memorial High School canopy, wearing a Centennial track shirt. Austin asked Karmelo to leave, saying, "You don't go to Memorial, this isn't your place." Karmelo responded, grabbing his backpack and saying, "Touch me and see what happens." The argument escalated. Witnesses, including Austin's twin brother Hunter, reported that Austin either pushed or touched Karmelo to emphasize that he needed to leave. Karmelo then pulled a black knife from his backpack and attacked Austin, stabbing him once in the chest. The single stab wound struck directly in Austin's heart. Austin screamed for help, his hand on his chest, and then collapsed. Karmelo pulled the knife from Austin's chest and fled, throwing the weapon into a nearby bush. Hunter Metcalf, Austin's twin brother who was nearby, rushed to help him. Hunter reported that a lot of blood was pouring from his brother's chest. He tried to stop the bleeding with his hands, but it was in vain. He held Austin's head and looked into his eyes. At one point, he said he saw his brother's soul leave, and that it took his soul too. Other witnesses, including teammates and coaches, shouted for help. Coaches and others present tried to administer first aid to Austin, but he was unresponsive. Several attempts at resuscitation were made, but his condition was critical due to the heart puncture, and within minutes, Austin passed away. Two students who had witnessed the entire incident called a police officer working at the school as a resource officer. These students pointed out Karmelo, who was fleeing, to the officer, who managed to intercept him before he could leave the campus. The officer ordered Karmelo to raise his hands and detained him without resistance. While being detained, Karmelo repeatedly said things like, "I was protecting myself. He put his hands on me. I did this." He also reportedly asked the officers if Austin was going to be okay and whether what he did could be considered self-defense. These statements were recorded in the 7-page police report. There was blood on Karmelo's hands and clothes, which were collected as evidence. Within minutes, a police team arrived at the gymnasium, and after a quick search, they found the weapon near a bush. One of the officers collected the weapon and, to protect it from the rain, placed it under a canopy, as the rain could wash away evidence and compromise crucial details. Meanwhile, other officers identified witnesses to collect isolated statements, intending to avoid contamination of the narratives. The knife collected was crucial evidence, confirmed as the weapon used in the crime. Paramedics from the emergency medical service arrived quickly at the scene. Austin was placed in an ambulance, but there were no signs of life. He was transported to a nearby hospital, likely Baylor Scott and White Medical Center in Frisco. The track event was immediately canceled. Students, coaches, and spectators were evacuated from Kuykendall Stadium, and the area was cordoned off by Frisco police for investigation. The rain made preserving the scene difficult, but the officers acted quickly to protect the evidence, as they had with the knife. At the hospital, doctors confirmed that Austin Metcalf did not survive the injury. The stab wound had pierced his heart, causing a fatal internal bleed. The exact time of confirmation is not specified, but it occurred within an hour after the stabbing, given the quick transport and the severity of the injury. Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, was alerted by a coach while he was at home. He rushed to the stadium but arrived after Austin had already been taken by ambulance. At the hospital, Jeff saw his son with a large chest wound and kissed him for the last time, saying, "This is not goodbye, it's see you later." Jeff reported that he was informed of Austin's death shortly after arriving at the hospital. Hunter, who held Austin during his final moments, was deeply traumatized. He stayed at the scene until the paramedics arrived and accompanied the family to the hospital. Frisco police began collecting statements from witnesses, including Hunter, coaches, and other students who were present under the canopy. The police report details that Karmelo was taken to the Collin County Detention Center, where he was formally charged with first-degree murder. A bond of $1 million was set for him, reflecting the gravity of the crime. In addition to the knife, the police collected Karmelo's clothes and blood samples for forensic analysis. According to authorities, Austin and Karmelo did not know each other, so there was no long-standing rivalry between them as some people had suspected. The Frisco Independent School District issued an official statement in the following hours, confirming the death of a student from Frisco Memorial High School during the track event. The district expressed condolences to the Metcalf family and announced the suspension of sports activities. The statement also mentioned that school counselors would be available to support students and staff affected by the tragedy. Students and teachers at Frisco Memorial High School began to gather to process the events. The news spread quickly, with many expressing shock, as Austin was a well-known figure. Centennial High School, where Karmelo attended, was also impacted, with parents and students questioning the safety of school events. Local broadcasters such as Fox 4 News and WFAA began covering the case on the afternoon of April 2nd. WFAA published an initial report detailing the crime, Karmelo's arrest, and Austin's death, citing the police report. Jeff, Megan, Hunter, and Austin's younger sister, who was not at the event, gathered at the hospital. Guided by his Christian faith, Jeff began organizing a vigil at the family's church for the evening of the same day. Megan and Hunter, still in shock, requested privacy through an initial statement, as reported by CBS News Texas. Frisco police continued to examine the crime scene, interviewing additional witnesses and reviewing surveillance footage from Kuykendall Stadium. Jeff Metcalf announced a vigil at the family's church, scheduled for 7 p.m. on April 2nd. Students, coaches, friends, and members of the Frisco Memorial High School community were invited to attend. At 7 p.m., the vigil was held at the church attended by the Metcalf family, with hundreds of people present, including students, coaches, friends, and members of the Frisco community. Jeff Metcalf spoke briefly, expressing his faith and requesting prayers for Austin and the community. He said that the only thing keeping him standing was his faith, and that if it weren't for that, he would already be destroyed. The vigil included hymns, prayers, and tributes to Austin, with teammates sharing memories of his leadership on the football team and his contagious smile. Hunter and Megan were present but remained more reserved, still processing the loss. By the end of the day, local media intensified their coverage. Fox 4 News interviewed Jeff Metcalf, who described his son as a great person and very smart. Jeff also called for changes in school security so that no other family would have to endure such pain. When asked what he hoped would happen to Karmelo Anthony, Jeff simply said that he forgave him and that everything was in God's hands now. The Frisco community began sharing messages of support for the family on social media. After the vigil, the family returned home facing intense grief. Jeff Metcalf mentioned that he planned to honor Austin's memory, while Megan, Hunter, and Austin's younger sister sought emotional support. The following day, Frisco police concluded their activities at Kuykendall Stadium, with the crime scene being cleared after evidence was collected. The case was transferred to the Collin County District Attorney's Office, which began reviewing the charges against Anthony. Frisco Memorial High School announced it would remain closed for extracurricular activities in the days following the incident, and the Frisco Independent School District began planning psychological support for students. The community continued to mobilize with the creation of a GoFundMe campaign, which raised more than $100,000 for funeral expenses and psychological support. The death of Austin Metcalf devastated his family and the Frisco community. In less than a day, news of the crime spread throughout the state of Texas, and by the next day, it reached all over the United States. Many wondered, how did a trivial disagreement between two high school boys end in such a tragic outcome? For many, Karmelo Anthony not only took Austin Metcalf's life, but also his own, as he is likely to spend most of his life in prison. But who is Karmelo Anthony, and why did he have a knife in a school environment? Karmelo Anthony was born on May 11, 2007 in Baton Rouge, a city with over 220,000 residents in the state of Louisiana. He is the son of Andrew Anthony and Kayla Hayes Anthony, who, in addition to Karmelo, have 3 other children. The Anthony family moved from Baton Rouge to northern Texas a few years ago, seeking a better life and better opportunities. They briefly lived in Irving before settling in Frisco, where Karmelo began attending Frisco Centennial High School. Andrew Anthony, Karmelo's father, worked as a general sales manager at a car dealership. After his son's arrest, he took an indefinite leave from work, being the sole financial provider for the family. He was described as someone with a strong work ethic and charisma. Kayla Hayes, on the other hand, was described as a devoted mother and homemaker, dedicated to raising Karmelo and his 3 younger siblings with love, faith, and support. He is the oldest of 4 siblings and is considered a great older brother by his father, Andrew. There is no mention of the names or ages of his younger siblings in the sources. No specific details are provided about the schools Karmelo attended in Baton Rouge or Irving before moving to Frisco. However, he was described as an outstanding student with a GPA of 3.7, suggesting good academic performance from an early age. He planned to attend college with athletic scholarship offers from universities such as Texas Lutheran University, McPherson College, and Centenary College. During his childhood and adolescence, Karmelo stood out as a talented athlete in football and track and field, serving as captain of both teams at Centennial High School. He also worked 2 part-time jobs and was described as a kind, hard-working, and promising young man by his parents. His mother, Kayla Hayes, stated that he was raised with structure, stability, and love, with God being the center of their family. The Anthony family lives in a rented home in the upscale gated community of Richwoods in Frisco, located on Mercedes Lane. According to sources, the house is valued at nearly $1 million. After his arrest, Karmelo Anthony was represented by the Next Generation Action Network, led by Dominique Alexander. His defense lawyers based their argument on a claim of self-defense. Karmelo stated that Austin touched him first, justifying the use of the knife. However, the Texas Penal Code, sections 931 and 932, requires that lethal force be proportional and immediate, and that the defendant did not provoke the situation. Witnesses reported that Karmelo challenged Austin by saying, "Touch me and see what happens," and placed his hand on his backpack before the confrontation, suggesting premeditation. Additionally, bringing a knife to a school event violated the Frisco Independent School District's rules, further weakening his defense. Neither Karmelo nor his legal team explained why he had brought a knife to the event. On April 10th, the Collin County District Attorney's Office announced that Karmelo Anthony would not face the death penalty due to his age, but would be tried as an adult for committing a first-degree felony. As authorities moved forward with the legal process, the case quickly turned into a racial flashpoint. Supporters of Karmelo attempted to launch a fundraising campaign for his family through GoFundMe. However, the platform removed all such campaigns, citing its policy against fundraising for the legal defense of individuals accused of violent crimes. In response, supporters turned to GiveSendGo, a Christian crowdfunding site that allowed the campaign to proceed. The original goal was to raise $200,000 to support Karmelo and his family during the trial, including legal fees and other necessities. As time passed, the campaign exceeded expectations and new fundraising goals were set. By May 1st, the campaign had surpassed $500,000, with the goal raised to $600,000. The campaign sparked controversy, with widespread criticism on social media and posts demanding its removal. Many people said the campaign was a slap in the face to the Metcalf family. On the other hand, some supported the campaign, arguing that Karmelo Anthony deserved a fair trial. Some more radical individuals even went as far as to comment that white people should cease to exist. As days went by, tensions escalated on both sides, between those supporting the Metcalf family and those supporting the Anthony family. Both families were victims of threats, intimidation, and swatting, a tactic where someone falsely reports armed individuals at a certain address, prompting a police response with multiple teams. According to sources, some people called the police, claiming the Metcalf family was in danger. The same occurred with the Anthony family. To make matters worse, during a press conference, the Anthony family claimed that Karmelo was a victim of racial discrimination and compared the case to Kyle Rittenhouse's. This comparison was heavily criticized and deemed inaccurate. On April 14th, Karmelo Anthony's first court hearing took place. During this hearing, the defense attorneys, Billy Clark and Kim Cole, argued that the $1 million bail was unusual for a 17-year-old with no criminal record. Karmelo's father, Andrew Anthony, testified that he was the sole financial provider for the family and could not afford the bail amount. As a result, Judge Angela Tucker from Collin County reduced Karmelo's bail from $1 million to $250,000. The prosecutors attempted to maintain the original bail, citing the severity of the crime and questioning why the family hadn't used the funds raised through the online donation campaign, which had already surpassed $300,000 at that point. Despite these arguments from the prosecution, the judge opted for the reduction. After the reduction, the $250,000 bail was paid, allowing Karmelo to be released from the Collin County Detention Center on the same day. He was placed under house arrest at his parents' home in Frisco with strict conditions: use of an electronic ankle monitor, prohibition from accessing social media, constant supervision by an adult, permission to leave the residence only with judicial authorization, such as for meetings with attorneys. The reduction of the bail and the fundraising efforts sparked further racial debates. People supporting the Anthony family argued that Karmelo, a young black man, should have the same right to self-defense as cases like Kyle Rittenhouse's, but was facing prejudice. On the other hand, supporters of the Metcalf family suggested that Karmelo's release was favored due to his race. On April 17th, Dominique Alexander from the Next Generation Action Network organized a press conference on behalf of the Anthony family. The press conference took place at the Next Generation Action Network headquarters in Dallas and was attended by Andrew Anthony and Kayla Hayes, Karmelo Anthony's parents. The goal of the conference was to address issues such as the threats the Anthony family had been facing, online misinformation, and fundraising for Karmelo's defense. Kayla Hayes made an emotional statement offering condolences to the Metcalf family, saying her heart was with them. She also highlighted the impact of the threats, mentioning that her 13-year-old daughter was afraid to sleep in her room. At one point during the conference, Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, unexpectedly appeared at the venue. Dominique Alexander verbally attacked Jeff, calling his presence disrespectful, and suggested that Austin had untold secrets, implying he was not the good boy everyone claimed him to be. Dominique also blamed the Frisco Independent School District for not canceling the event due to the rain. This argument was ridiculed by the media, with some journalists joking that the rain should be sentenced to life in prison. Jeff Metcalf's presence at the press conference caused some people at the venue to become agitated. As a result, Jeff was escorted out of the conference by police. This act shocked the Frisco community, as Jeff had already forgiven Karmelo, and according to sources, he did not intend to cause trouble. Hours after the press conference, Jeff Metcalf's home became the target of a swatting incident with a false emergency call reporting a shooting, which was later confirmed to be fake by the Frisco police. In a subsequent interview, Jeff stated that his intention was to seek an opportunity for the families to come together in a productive manner and represent Austin amidst the rumors surrounding the case. He also said that he felt disrespected by how he was treated. Regarding racial speculations, Jeff said he had already asked people to stop with that narrative, stating that the case was not about race, but about a wrong choice. Still, the internet amplified misinformation. Some social media posts speculated that Austin disliked black people, even though there was no evidence to support this claim. Others described Karmelo Anthony as an anti-bullying hero. Authorities issued alerts against fake news, urging the public to respect the facts. After Karmelo was released on bail on April 14th, the family faced numerous threats and intimidation. As a result, the Next Generation Action Network announced on April 21st that Karmelo had been transferred, with judicial approval, to an undisclosed location to ensure his safety. It is unclear whether the entire family moved or just Karmelo. Several rumors began circulating regarding the funds raised by the Anthony family to aid in Karmelo's defense. According to these rumors, the family had used the money to purchase a house, a new car, and even throw a party. However, none of this was confirmed by official sources. The judge overseeing the case, Angela Tucker, became the target of threats, and her personal information was leaked online. This led the FBI to open an investigation and deploy agents to ensure the judge's safety until everything was investigated. On April 18th, a group called Protect White Americans organized a protest in Frisco, claiming that Austin had been a victim of the crime because he was white. Jeff Metcalf attended, but the event had low turnout, with fewer than 20 participants, and was marked by a verbal exchange of insults with counter-protesters. The case gained national attention. On April 25th, President Donald Trump mentioned Austin Metcalf in a speech, reading his name in the Oval Office while announcing the reversal of racial equity rules in school disciplines implemented during the Obama era. The mention sparked criticism, with some accusing Trump of politicizing the tragedy. Austin's death led the Frisco Independent School District to review its security policies. The district announced it would implement metal detectors at sporting events, increase police presence, and provide better training for handling conflicts. Karmelo Anthony remains under house arrest with strict conditions. There is still no date set for future hearings. Prosecutors stated that due to Karmelo's age, he would not face the death penalty or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, in accordance with the Supreme Court ruling. Austin Metcalf's funeral took place on April 12th at Hope Fellowship Frisco East, a megachurch located in Frisco. The farewell ceremony was open to the community and attended by hundreds of people, including family, friends, schoolmates, coaches, and members of the Frisco community. After the memorial service, the Metcalf family held a private burial restricted to close relatives, as indicated by multiple sources. Instead of flowers, the family requested donations for a scholarship fund in Austin's honor. Jeff Metcalf made an emotional speech emphasizing his son's integrity. He said that integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking. Jeff also urged the community to replace hate, anger, revenge, and racism with love, compassion, and empathy. This case is generating a lot of controversy, but I'd like to know your opinion. Did Karmelo Anthony truly act in self-defense, or did he take disproportionate action? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.